All right, the NFL coaching vacancy is starting to dwindle down. And we talked right at the outset of this coaching cycle that, okay, where do the Saints stack up? Chicago's already open. New York's already open. We feel like the Bears, with all their salary cap space and Caleb Williams being there, that's probably a better spot than the New Orleans. And the Jets, they maybe won't move on from Aaron Rodgers, but the rosters and ownership's not great, but it's in New York. It's probably a better spot there. Okay, well, Jacksonville comes open. They got Trevor Lawrence, a lot of cap room, but their owner's saying a lot of weird things. Nobody likes the GM. What's the deal out in Vegas? Is that going to come open? And well, what's Jerry Jones going to do with Mike McCarthy? And you're kind of weighing all these things, and you understand that the Saints had an old roster, not a lot of talent, $50+ million over the salary cap, quarterback entering what could be the last year he's in New Orleans. You got continuity in the executive team with the general manager and all of his surrounding cast of characters. Ownership's generally solid, spends money, stays out of the way. But where do the Saints rank? And you're kind of looking towards the bottom, quite frankly, even though there are warts everywhere with teams that are looking for a new coach. But now you look up, okay, well, you never really thought the Saints were going to get Ben Johnson, and they didn't. He went to Chicago. And the Saints very much were interested in Aaron Glenn. There's no doubt about that. But it was evident pretty early, at least according to Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints and LouisianaSports.net, that Glenn likely preferred the Jets job. So, yes, you do that interview. You make sure that you touch your base there, and you try to make your case, but you understand that may not work out. And then you start to look at the other names that the Saints have interviewed, and they'll talk to Mike McCarthy, and you look at Anthony Weaver, and look at Kafka up there with the Giants, and you're thinking, okay, that's kind of the pool that we're looking at here. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury, if he changes his tune, we'll see. Joe Brady for sure. And you're thinking, okay, well, are the Saints kind of fighting for any of these other spots? And it turns out that whatever happened in Jacksonville, between Jacksonville and Tampa, Liam Cohen's going to go be the head coach of the Jaguars. And he was never really mentioned for the Saints. And if the Jaguars were looking for a young offensive mind, certainly Joe Brady and Liam Cohen would be the spots after Ben Johnson has been taken, and they didn't hire Joe Brady. And then you look out at Vegas, and you thought they were looking at more established names, perhaps Robert Saleh, perhaps Vance Joseph, and it turns out they just hired Pete Carroll. 73-year-old Pete Carroll, who the Saints, as we understand it, had no interest in. So now you're looking around, and you're looking at Dallas, who is apparently going to hire Brian Schottenheimer, and that's been the word for the last 48 hours. And the Saints are kind of sitting here going, okay, y'all may have picked first, but I don't know that anybody that was realistically on the Saints' radar outside of Aaron Glenn has been hired, and you're now sitting here going, well, we've got our pick. So there's no rush. There's no hurry. It's not like college football where you got to get somebody in there to get recruiting and fill out the staff so they can go recruit and make sure you work the transfer portal. No, you've got a scouting department that can handle the Senior Bowl and can handle the draft and can continue to do those types of things. You've got a salary cap department that can continue to work towards restructuring contracts. Certainly, I think, in my opinion at least, I would like the head coach's input on some of that. But maybe Mickey Loomis and Kai Harley and that whole group, they're going to do their salary cap gymnastics the way they're going to do it anyway. So really, all you're doing is waiting. And you can talk to Mike McCarthy whenever you want. Starting on Monday, you can talk to Joe Brady whenever you want. You can talk on Monday to Cliff Kingsbury whenever you want. Anthony Weaver or Mike Kafka are guys you can talk to whenever you want. Time is no longer of the essence. Every single time you get into a coaching search, whether it's for a coordinator or a head coach, you always have to assess the rest of the hiring pool and understand where you may need to be aggressive, where you need to be assertive, and make sure that you get your guy. It's likely to me that the Jets knew that it was possible that Aaron Glenn was going to get on a plane and go to New Orleans. You have to stop that. That is like college recruiting. There's a time where you say, you're committing to us, you're not getting on that visit going somewhere else. And if the Jets decided Aaron Glenn is our guy, you've got to make sure you understand what his other options could be and that you don't allow him to explore those. They didn't. He may have left the facility after the interview, but he didn't get on a plane and fly to New Orleans. Really couldn't because there was snow everywhere, but point remains. So now the Saints are in an advantageous spot. You're not under the proverbial gun as far as we need to make this decision very, very quickly. You just need to do what's right. And I think it's probably a good thing the Saints are not under the gun, because I feel like that could lead to some hasty decisions that may not be in the best interest of the organization. I've told you this many times. Like, I can get on board with Joe Brady. I can get on board with Mike McCarthy. I can get on board with Anthony Weaver. I'm having a little bit tougher time with Mike Kafka. And I could probably get on board with Cliff Kingsbury. There are a lot of positives that go into all those different candidates. But now the beauty is you don't have to race. So there's no excuse. You've got the ability to survey the board and make it happen. And if you're a Saints fan, like, your confidence level may be reasonably high, it may be 0, and neither one of those would be unfounded. Like, there have been some significant issues, and also the Saints have done some great things. It's been a while. Mickey Loomis was in charge when they got this right, too. So you're now the belle of the ball because you're the only job left. And that was one of Mickey Loomis's talking points in the press conference. Like, well, it's one of the 32 jobs, so somebody's got to take it. Now it's the only one. It's one of one job, assuming Dallas goes the way we think it is. So now they really have to take it. So I don't know if that's the best way to approach it, but it doesn't make it any less true. If any of these guys wants to be an NFL head coach in 2025, come on down to the French Quarter, because that's where you got to be. So it's a break for the Saints. You never know. You can't forecast this stuff, but it's a break for the Saints, and now they make their move. I told you on Monday, if the Saints hire a coach this week, I think it's Aaron Glenn. If they don't hire a coach this week, I think it's Joe Brady. I still feel that way. I would not in any way rule out Anthony Weaver. I would not in any way rule out Mike McCarthy. I don't think Kingsbury's likely. I don't think Kafka's likely. I think that's a guy the Saints have had interest in for some time. I don't think they're going to make him the head coach. That's a tough sell. So, and again, I don't think it's Darren Rizzi. That's very clear. So I think that we're probably, as I sit here on Friday, I think we're probably Tuesday before that announcement's made. I think it's likely, in my opinion, that the Saints know what their top choice is. And I think they make that clear in an interview next Monday or Tuesday. And I think that gets done. If you've seen how quickly this stuff gets done, like the Jaguars got rid of Balky, boom, they hire out in the cold Liam Cohen, who the Bucs were trying to get on the phone. This happened pretty quickly with Pete Carroll today. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were hired less than 72 hours after their team finished their season. So I think we're right there on the edge of this when the games go final on Sunday. And I think there's a decent chance that the Saints have talked to Joe Brady's agent, Mike McCarthy's agent, whoever, and have kind of made that clear. Like, now that the dust is settled, you don't really have to play games anymore. I feel like there's a pretty good chance that some significant groundwork can be laid before an interview's done. Now, there's a chance, as I say all that the Saints really haven't made their mind up. And while I probably would have said 3 days ago, what are you doing? Go! You don't have to do that anymore. They don't have to know. They can take their time. Again, that may inspire a lot of confidence in you, Saints fan. It may inspire none. But it just is the situation. I think there's optimism that they can get this thing right. Then you've got to go through a sizable rebuild. If you'd like to see how that salary cap situation shakes out, Ross Jackson's got a great piece on LouisianaSports.net that talks about it. But you can start that process with what is a vital hire to this organization, and then a big-time free agency and draft period coming in this offseason, and then an even bigger one likely next year. But this is where it's got to start, and I feel like the Saints are in a pretty advantageous situation as we sit here today. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.